How dare you record me and be miserable while you do it?
Podcast time.
Podcast time.
That's what we're going to name our podcast. It's no longer Grumpy Dungeon Masters. It's just podcast time.
Why doesn't it keep populating the YouTube correctly? I don't know, podcast.
I can't help you with that. I know nothing about any of that.
You don't know anything that was developed after like 2005. 25.
Oh no, that you're giving me way too much credit if you think I understand anything made around 2005.
Well, YouTube came out then, so hopefully you...
No,
Wait,
no.
you don't.
No. What year did the internet come out? To public consumption, yeah.
90s sometime.
Yeah, so go before that.
I know how to breed cattle. That's about it.
That's right. I can grow a garden.
I have chickens.
That's accurate statement. Accurate statement.
The internet was ARPANET, which became the internet, was developed and was live January 1st, 1983. It was developed back in 1977, and it kind of went live to public consumption like in the early 90s, late 80s.
Yeah, like I remember friends having it mid 90s or so.
April 30th, 1993. The World Wide Web was released into the public domain.
So that's the day that we all died.
Well, the millennials, yeah.
Yeah, at least a generation.
And then TikTok killed that generation, and
yep.
World War III is the next.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. I'm Grumpy Dungeon Master Jay. My co-host is Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher, and mostly we talk about role-playing games. Mostly.
I'm going to talk about how I cleaned my room for the past 5 days over Thanksgiving break and bought a new computer.
I
hooked up the new computer.
You even made a video about it.
Well, I just gave it to you guys because something always has to go wrong when you set up a new computer. And all that went wrong for me is my primary monitor didn't turn on. And you want to know what the solution was?
Plugging it in and
a hidden power switch on the back of it.
Oh yeah. Yep, that'll do it.
That'll do it.
Oddly enough, I've never had issues with a new computer. Never. Not once.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm just super lucky. I've heard horror stories about how they don't work the first time, and for me, I just plug them in and go.
I was able to clean up all of my D&D books and organize them, and kind of organize some of my pops. So now I have all my Hulk pops above me and all the D&D movie pops. I bought the owlbear pop figure that they came out with.
Awesome.
Put it next to my Thumberchild thing.
Thumberchild.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of cool pops. Yeah. I got a lot of cool Hulk pops. I like having everything match. I don't like to have mismatched pops.
I could understand that. While I do not own a single pop figure for good reasons, if I ever bought them, I would just buy entire sets of them, and it would be bad. But they would all match. It would be all from the same, IPs.
So like my Hulk collection. Okay, I have the original comic Hulk. Okay.
Yep.
And then I have a couple of variations from him from the Avenger movies.
So the one with the purple pants.
Purple pants, green skin. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So then I have a couple like the Avengers style for him. Like I have him busting out Iron Man's armor, the Hulk with the gauntlet on, Hulk handing out tacos, Hulk just standing there in his sweatpants. I have Bruce Banner. I have the Hulk in the armor from Planet Hulk. Then I got Professor Hulk, and I got the Immortal Hulk. And then I got, these are my new ones. I got the Marvel Zombies Hulk, the Gamerverse Hulk, which he just has like gauntlets on or something. I don't know. And it's going to implore them to help stop a menace that's taking over the Thanksgiving holiday and basically overriding the Thanksgiving holiday or the Harvest Festival time of year with too much merrymaking.
Mariah Carey's the bad guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Now I can't say Mariah Carey, so it'd have to be Carey Mariah.
Kariah Mary. There you go.
But I think that would work. And so the couple ideas that I pitched to my wife, just as a springboard, was like, do I do it with Halloween? Do I do it with Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving kind of made more sense because Halloween kind of has its own thing.
Halloween has a solid holiday, and the people like myself who fucking love Halloween are not going to give an inch. You do not start talking about the other holidays until the day after Halloween.
Yeah, but Thanksgiving is very
But
overshadowed by Christmas.
Thanksgiving gets fucked.
Yeah, so that may work. It may work to have it be a Thanksgiving spirit. But then the issue comes up with, what the hell's the Thanksgiving spirit?
It's a fucking turkey.
Yeah, is it though?
It is if you want it to be.
I mean, Harvest Festival as a genre kind of works because that's usually October, November time.
No, you could make it a scarecrow easily enough because it's it's still harvest time. It all kind of blends together.
Yeah, it could be a scarecrow. It can't be any kind of pumpkin golem or anything. Maybe a squash.
Well, that's why you do a scarecrow with like a pumpkin head.
Well, that's still maybe it may still be too much Pumpkin King. Because, Jack Skellington has a lock on everything pumpkin related and skeleton related.
I guess. Nobody talks about Jack Skellington anymore, though.
You say that, there's things that you say sometimes.
Nobody talks about
it. You're just absolutely just wrong about.
Okay, your wife talks about him, and that's about it.
There are goddamn songs that he's just the lyrics of. Plenty of people talk about Jack Skellington ad nauseum. And it is an endless thing.
The only time that movie ever comes up with me and any of my friends, I do it occasionally on the podcast, is we'll say, "What's this?" and I immediately break out into that song because I can't help it. But otherwise, like, sure, he's an IP, tons and tons of, things for sale. But as far as people actively talking about him, I don't see Jack Skellington memes on the internet. Like,
I literally saw a new one that I sent to my wife just 2 days ago.
Yeah, but it's your wife, and
yeah, okay, but it's me sending it to her, so I had to have seen it.
Yeah, it comes up in your feed because you live in the same house. That's how the internet works.
But it's like the 20th anniversary or 30th anniversary of the film this year, so there's a lot of pops and everything out there.
Yeah.
I can't have anything related to pumpkins or Jack Skellington.
Well, okay, make it a scarecrow with a turkey for a head. I don't know.
An undead turkey.
I mean, what the fuck's gonna scare off birds more than a dead bird?
So I haven't done any D&D for a while. I haven't looked at anything. It was Thanksgiving time.
I
set up my computer. So I really don't have any topics except for I was able to go out and meet with David. I can't say his last name. The guest that we had on.
Yes, the one that introduced us to Bridgetown. David Schwimmer.
David Schwimmer, yeah. I met with him because we won the Overpowered contest.
Oh, okay.
And I got a book from him, and he gave me one of his other books called Tempered Legacy.
Awesome.
Magic items sealed by regret. Okay. And essentially what this is a twist on magic items that level up. And I just read through it a little bit. I'm going to give you guys a quick read of it as well. It's an interesting enough spin on it that it's worth taking a look at. So essentially, here's what a tempered item is and how they work. First, a character finds a tempered item, and the item's first slot always becomes unlocked. When you go through the items, which we'll go through later, I'll read the different stages. Step 2 is, more slots are unlocked by fulfilling the regrets of the previous owners.
Okay.
Step 3, if/when a character dies, the item gains another slot based on the fallen character. This new slot is locked behind a regret. Step 4 is, someone else comes along and finds the item, return to step 1. Ancient items may have dozens of slots. So essentially, imagine you pick up Excalibur, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the magic properties of Excalibur?
I haven't got a fucking clue other than it makes you the king.
we'll call that a magical effect, but there's two others. Okay, one, it grants you invulnerability as long as you're wielding the sword. Okay,
That didn't really work for Arthur, so
he wasn't wielding Excalibur when he got stabbed.
fair.
Okay, he had been disarmed, and then he got. So as long as you're wielding Excalibur, you cannot be physically harmed, and it is sharp enough to cut through anything. I think
All right.
that's it. I think
Sure.
the royal decree magic behind it that Merlin had is also a magic kind of effect, but I don't know. So I just opened up the book, and here's another sword called Glory's End. Okay, and Glory's End is a strangely tapered dao made from a shimmering crystal with a pearlescent grip and a bright star pommel. Supposedly, its bearers always faintly glow and smell of sunflowers, and capricious,
Capricious.
and engaging but erratic and litigious. Someone has a thesaurus, and I don't like them.
Well, remember we had that, we talked about that with him, where he likes using the big words.
Rumor: only blessed fools, opium dreamers, and mimes can bear the cruel tutelage of this blade. Standing close to it gives the disquieting squirm of laughing through tears. Okay? The first slot that's open the second you pick up the sword, is a mutation. It says, "Blessed are those that bear no burdens. Fools may march in any formation without knowing the cause. As soon as you take hold of Glory's End, you gain awareness of all slots of this weapon. This mutation cannot be cured. Those carrying the blade only have a vague impression of their life outside of their present experience, retaining broad concepts but lacking fine detail." So I guess for this weapon, the first slot is your personality kind of changes, which kind of happens sometimes with sentient weapons.
Oh, that happens a lot with sentient weapons, yeah.
The second slot that's lock. The lock is, and a fool strode into a square bearing a lantern, demanding that someone produce an honest man or at least a featherless biped, causing a tragedy by ignoring long-term consequences to unlocking this enchantment. Whatever that means.
I didn't understand any of that.
Right.
I'd have to sit down. I'd have to sit and read it.
The enchantment is the bearer cannot be subject to illusions, command spells, scrying rituals, summoning rituals, psychic domination, mesmerism, infernal contracts, or any supernatural compulsion. And so there's 3 other slots of this weapon. A lot of the weapons just have 1 or 2 slots in it, and they're kind of neat. Like sometimes they're actually quite easy. This one here is called the Diplomat. Okay, it's a large spiked club with leather straps. Okay. As long as you're holding the weapon, you gain a bonus to intimidation. The second slot is Philobena was an adventurer. I guess the previous owner was Philobena. Philobena was an adventurer with an affinity for animals. She always longed to join the circus until she discovered its ugly truth. Free 10 wild animals from captivity, and you will unlock Philobena's spell. And Philobena's spell is, once per day, you may summon a group of small animals to perform simple tasks for you.
Do you know how to unlock these things when you're holding it?
I don't believe so.
I would say that's an easy enough one for D&D. I would say you just have to cast an identify on it, and every identify you cast will it'll show you what that next level is.
Yeah.
But that means every time you level it up, you then have to cast it again. So
yeah, there's a third mutation slot called Nario's mutation. When conversing with someone, you are compelled to give them your honest thoughts and opinions at all times.
We've seen this movie. Thank you, Jim Carrey.
And the cure for the mutation is that you have no tact. You're always as blunt as that club you're carrying. Those were the last words she said unto him. Use your guile to mend at least 5 important relationships, and you cure this mutation. So I just thought it was an interesting book. Like I said, a lot of weapons, a lot of interesting little stories you can kind of do, and
it's very creative. I definitely like it. I'm going to put one of these weapons into a Dungeon Crawl Classics game at some point, and it's going to have 47 of these on it. Because it's Dungeon Crawl Classics, so people just pick shit up and then die shortly after. Like, that's just the way things go.
And they also have armor, trinkets, and rules for making tempered items. So I just thought it was really kind of cute and cool. It add flair to an item instead of just, you know,
Those are
I
the
guess
kind of
every
that's
slot you could unlock a +1 to it, or something along those lines.
yeah, if you wanted to, but those are
Yeah,
the honestly those are the kind of books that game masters want and need. Like the basics of D&D or Pathfinder are good, and you can definitely get a lot out of it, obviously. But sometimes getting cool ideas like that just lead you down a whole other path that you you never would have thought to even take. Like, who the hell is going to think to add something like that into a game? But if
yeah.
somebody finds an item like that, they're going to be like, "That's really fucking cool. How do I unlock this next one?" And you can make some of them ridiculously challenging as well, and like lead you down an entire campaign just trying to unlock one of these things.
Oh yeah. Um, it kind of led way to the other thing I want to talk about too, which was the giving players a I know a guy cards.
Yeah, I saw. I actually watched the video, oddly enough, which I
Aw,
normally don't. So
thank you. You watch what I sent you. So
sometimes,
essentially, what the concept was is everyone has a background in D&D, okay? And a lot of the backgrounds basically say, oh, because you're an acolyte, you have access to the church whenever you need it, and they can give you shelter and food, blah, blah, blah. But at least I've experienced it a lot, especially in AL, but even in my, more roleplay heavy games, that no one really cares about their background, or don't really use it to full extent.
hmm
Um, One of our players, Scruffy, he he was really good at using his background as like ways of getting things done. Um, and I always
yeah,
enjoyed kind of working that in, whether it was his job or something along those lines. And it's really easy with like bards, but like Scruffy, one of his characters, his background was like Outlander or something like that, but his job was that he worked for the sewers. So like he kept banging down that sewer door whenever he could. Whenever they
yeah,
wanted to find a secret entrance someplace, like, oh, I should probably get a map to the sewer someplace. And so the same concept with these I know a guy things is that players have these things in their backgrounds, but they hardly ever use them. So the intent was to give players a sealed envelope with on one side be I know a guy and basically list a guy that they know. And then on the back, maybe another quest for them to complete for that new contact they now have. So it could be someone's like, oh crap, we need help with this. Well, I know a guy, and you open up the envelope, and instead it
hmm
says you have a monk friend in another town that can provide you with um, data and information whenever you need to.
yeah,
But on the back is he's also working on a quarterstaff for you. So you have now some quest items that you could add in as well.
yep.
So along the same time, just more different cool stories you can add that kind of aren't the main campaign, but could lead to a good night of fun and discovery.
Yeah, things like that can be really useful. The old White Wolf games, like World of Darkness, Vampire, Werewolf, those, as well as the old Marvel superheroes, I know for sure they all had this thing referred to. It was contacts, basically. It was a skill that you could put points into when you created your character, and as you leveled up your character, it was basically contacts of people that you knew.
Yeah,
So for Marvel, if you're playing a high tech hero, you could put a couple of points into contacts, and you might know a guy who works on the police force, and the other one might be a guy who you know he's your supplier to get you all the uranium that you need for your suit or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, so having things like that is really it's neat, it's useful. I can't
But
say that I
the
don't ever
key
really use it in D&D though.
the key thing about the I know a guy packets was it was to get past the hurdle of the DMs not using it
Yeah.
and the players not using it by having a physical thing in front of them
Yes.
that they can see and look at and then reference and use.
Yep.
And like yeah, we can give people all the context they want in the world, but
Well,
unless they're using them,
if you have a contact score, like a number set in front of you, where you and the DM have created these
yeah.
NPCs for very specific reasons, then those would absolutely get utilized. Your background doesn't get utilized because it doesn't have numbers attached to it. It's just on your, oh, I'm a charlatan. Okay, cool. If you don't flesh that out any, it's not going to get used. I don't dislike the idea you're talking about of handing them little cards. Like that's a for D&D 5e. That's a cool, quick, easy way to use it. It'd work for Pathfinder as well. Uh, but if you spend a little time actually fleshing out the backgrounds ahead of time, then you might not have to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's one DM's take on it.
I definitely think it'd be useful. I
Yeah,
don't think people, but I could never use it for like AL or anything like that. But I could definitely use it for around the table
yeah,
because like you always get those one characters that have contacts like in the movies and whatnot, and that's just like their whole job. It's oh yeah, I know a guy. You know,
yeah, yep.
like
I play.
Stallone has a show out right now where essentially that's his character.
Yeah, I've played that character before where I know people. I don't do it. It was like it's almost like the Tony Stark power. Well, what's your superpower? I'm rich. Yeah. What's your superpower? I know people.
Yeah, but it also feels kind of weird too because the inverse of that is basically what you're saying is your power is you're an extrovert that makes friends easily
Yeah.
and go.
Yep.
Okay, so this definitely is a fantasy game. Got it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're that guy that none of us geeks want to hang out with because they're a fucking extrovert. We all have met those people. And they know shit tons of people. But tabletoppers, we're the opposite. Almost every single one of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was scrolling around the internet, and I don't even know how the hell I came across this thing. This is a second edition spell that was out of the Tome of Magic, which I don't think I ever owned that book, so I've probably never seen the spell. And it's actually called Reverse Time. This
Okay.
this spell, you remember when we talked about the Chronomancer,
Yeah, I
the
do.
the greatest slash worst class ever made for D&D?
Yep.
This spell is right there with it, and this is an actual fucking spell that was printed in a book.
Okay.
Uh,
Give it to me.
yeah, it's a lot of reading, so I'm sorry guys, but I will do my best to make it entertaining at least. When reverse time is cast, time stops within a 30-foot diameter of the subject. All creatures and items in the area of effect stand motionless. Rivers stop running, arrows hang suspended in the air. Any creature, person, or object entering the area of effect is likewise frozen in time. The caster is affected if he is within the area of effect, unless he is the subject of the spell. An unwilling subject is allowed a saving throw versus spell. If successful, the spell is immediately negated. Otherwise, the victim is forced to relive all the actions taken in the previous 1 to 4 rounds in reverse, beginning with the most recent round. The subject moves backwards, arrows fired by the subject return to his bow, and so on. All effects of these actions are negated. At the end of the spell's duration, normal time resumes and all creatures immediately continue their activities, picking up right where they had stopped. Consider the following example. A party is battling a spellcasting red dragon. In the first round, the dragon breathes fire, roasting the party's wizard. The rest of the group attacks and injures the dragon. On the second round, the dragon bites and kills the group's thief. More damage is caused to the beast, but it is still alive in the third round when it uses magic missile to kill the ranger. At this point, the priest casts reverse time on the beast. Fortunately, it fails the save and is forced to reverse the last 4 rounds. While everyone else freezes, the dragon goes into reverse. The magic missiles zoom back to the dragon and it regains the ability to cast that spell. It unbites the thief, removing that damage from the character, and then inhales its fiery breath, leaving the roasted wizard alive and uncooked. The dragon is then reversed through one more round, the round before it encountered the party. The spell then ends and action resumes. The dragon must now roll for surprise since it is encountering the party for the first time. Uh, that's that's pretty much it. There's a couple little other pieces, but doesn't really affect the spell casting.
Do the wounds on the dragon also reverse?
I would imagine, yeah. Yeah. It didn't state that specifically, but it's literally backing it through time before it encountered them. But it is backing the dragon up. Not everybody else, because the dragon was the specific target of the spell. So it could be cast as a radius, apparently, or on single target. Uh, yeah, like obviously this is incredibly fucking broken and would never. I can't say you couldn't build it to work in 5e, but it would have to be super, super specific. It
I
would have
mean,
it would have
in 5e would be essentially, um, you would basically start the combat over again.
yeah, like you would back the combat up 4 rounds, and you would have to say very specifically, it heals any wounds, or maybe just say it heals all wounds in that time period. All spells that were cast in that time period were not cast. You know,
Right.
like that's about the only way to do that for 5e, because 5e is numbers specific. It's very tight about
Yeah.
that.
And that's the best I could think of it. Just start combat over again.
Yep. I played second ed for quite a while. I never saw this spell, never heard about this spell. I'm
Seems
sure
complicated.
it seems incredibly complex, and I would just hate to be the DM or the player. Okay, this first round I took 12 damage. The second round I took 32 damage. The third round I took 18 damage. Like, no, no way in hell would I ever be able to keep up with that.
Right.
Just running Pathfinder last night, we had a situation where I told the players how much they took the basically. I'll get to the story here of the whole fucking thing here in a bit, but the NPC cast Meteor Storm, and then they did it again, and I used the same numbers twice, but I didn't tell them that way. I told them, you took 32 damage the first round, and then after everybody had marked their sheets, then I said, okay, he does it again. So some of the players were like, fuck, well, I don't know how much hit points I was at. And it got real fucking confusing real quick for a couple
Yeah.
of people, because they had already they had already written their numbers out. Everything was done. So they didn't know how much they had taken the round before.
Right. Like I said, it seems very clunky and something
Yeah.
that I wouldn't want to try to implement.
I would use it. I mean, honestly, if I was running second ed and somebody got to that level, because it's a max level cleric spell,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, sure, but also it's second ed, so we're on that kind of a fucking train anyway. You're on that roller coaster.
Woohoo! Roller coasters.
Yep. But yeah, that's reverse time. Definitely don't use that in 5e. Have you seen this Heroes Feast saving the children's menu thing?
No,
Oh,
because I don't know where it's on Freebie. Oh, that was the show. Never mind.
well, here's a link to it on the Facebook.
On the Facebook.
Yes, on
Jesus
the
Christ!
Facebook.
Please don't say that again.
It's on the Facebook. I have to sound like my mom. So Heroes Feast, Saving the Children's Menu is a module written by Deborah Ann Wall, who we all know and love from Daredevil, and apparently she's in a bunch of D&D things now. But it's I'm going to read what it has. Cook up a quest for your party with a 10th level adventure written by Deborah Ann Wall. An agreement to help a popular chef escalates into a giant-sized adventure full of danger, royal intrigue, and cheese. Add a dash of fun with the included recipe to cook up your own Kinder Stumble Noodles from Heroes Feast Flavors of the Multiverse. Uh, is the Heroes Feast Flavors of the Multiverse, isn't that the actual cookbook that they released?
Yeah, it is. It is the new cookbook they released.
Okay. So apparently, but they have a recipe for Kinder Stumble Noodles. I'm very I've not actually seen the details of the module. I've not actually gotten to look at it, but I'm curious if it's taking place in Forgotten Realms, and if it's got some sort of a multi-planner thing going on, since it mentions Kinder, which are Dragonlance only.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, I haven't seen the details of it.
yeah,
I know that this is only released to D&D Beyond.
Yep.
and the content didn't get pushed anywhere else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It popped up on my feed at some point. That's the only reason I even knew about it. I was like, oh, look, a new module. Well, they're not really releasing anything until 5.5, so let's click it and see what this is. But yeah, it's a
Right.
10th level adventure. So.
I mean, that's okay that it's a 10th level adventure. I mean, we need more of those, but
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah, I'm definitely down for if it covers a couple levels or whatever, that's fine. But yeah, something for I wouldn't call it higher level, but you don't really see stuff like that very often.
yeah. I mean, I just hope that this. I'm torn. This module's $5. Okay, so that's your standard one-shot adventure price for something that's on DM's Guild. Okay.
Yeah, the price is fine. $5.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I know that they probably paid her ahead of time for this, and great. I'm glad she's getting work and all that stuff. I'm not jealous or envious of that at all. But it's great that they're actually working with writers still. I guess the issue that I'm having with is that if this is what's going to be the price for a single encounter, okay, $5.
Yeah,
because I think it's just it just says adventure.
No, it says giant-sized adventure full of danger, royal intrigue, and cheese. Like this is it's probably more than a one-shot. I would assume that I'm gonna, and this is just me guessing, having not actually seen it, but I would assume it probably covers a level or two. So you're looking at a few game sessions most likely.
Oh, this is 10th. If it was more than one level, they would say 10 to 13. So this
Okay.
is just 10. So it's just a number of encounters.
Okay.
It may take you to 11. It may take you 11. It may not. But they're tagging it. It's a featured thing, which is fine. They're tagging it that it has maps, which with D&D's new map or D&D Beyond's new map thing is just all they're doing is taking the maps from the actual module and putting them in their map feature, which doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really work. They don't have grids or anything, which is just that's another issue.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue.
But if you want to play this, okay, it's only on D&D Beyond. There's no physical copy anywhere. I mean, that's but it's not on Roll20. It's not on Fantasy Grounds, the places where people actually go to play.
Yeah. So what you're saying? Nobody plays on well, actually, I guess they don't even have one yet, do they?
They have D&D maps, okay? But all it is basically open up any D&D book, see the map that they have in there. They took that photo and let you put tokens on top of it.
Right.
That's their solution.
Yeah, without
they
the
couldn't
grid
make a
or
better
anything,
VTT than that.
Well, that's what they're working on. That's what they're
There's
spending.
No wall. No, they're not. They're not working on that. They're working on some 3D model game thing.
Right. Yeah. But that's what they're working on is a 3D model virtual tabletop rather than they. Like I am fairly fucking certain at any point they could have put out something the equivalent of Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, and they really should have.
They had it in 4th edition and they sold off the rights to another company.
Yep.
I just.
So
idiot.
I mean they're definitely not like they are. I won't say they're losing money, but that's money they're not getting. But anyway, don't want to focus too much on that. Yeah, like $5 for a PDF. Not going to complain too much about that. I understand why they wouldn't put out a physical copy. If it's a $5 PDF, that means at most a physical copy would be about $10.
But the thing is, you can't print it out. Okay, you can't. On D&D Beyond, one of the big gripes that I have, and this really doesn't apply that much, but like, let's say you wanted to play this, you're not going to use D&D Beyond. You wanted to buy that module.
Yep.
Okay. So you say you buy it in D&D Beyond. There's no way to get that text onto paper.
I'm actually glad you told me about that right now because I never knew that. I assumed if I bought it on D&D Beyond, I could just I just assumed, oh, it's a PDF. I can just print it out like you do with PDFs.
No. It pops up and populates in D&D Beyond as every other module and everything does, which works really great, okay, with, how D&D Beyond works.
Yep.
But it doesn't work in the sense of like, let's say like the Spelljammer modules. I wanted to take those and run them to AL. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, I had to manually sit there and like highlight, copy, paste, and then take out all the crap that got copied over because there's no printer friendly version of those adventures for me to print out and bring anywhere.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
all just that terrible format. Oh, no, it's all the good formatting within D&D Beyond, but it's a terrible formatting within Word or anything.
yeah, and that's a big problem. I would like. I don't know how many people are like me, but that guarantees 100% I would never sign up to buy any of this stuff. That's a $5 purchase that I might have considered, and there's no chance in hell I would ever do it if I can't get a fucking PDF and just print it out or do what I want with it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Also, I do have a lot of issue with stuff like that. I know I've seen it recently where, like, Guillermo del Toro has talked a lot recently about Blu-ray and DVD being sort of people who buy and collect those are saving media. And
Hmm.
in the case of the saving the children's menu thing, at any point I could buy this for $5. I have it, and at any point they could say, "Okay, we don't want it online anymore." Bam, it's gone, and there's nothing you could do about it because you can't. You don't get a PDF for it. It's on their website, and if they decide, "Nah, you don't get it anymore," like the whole. I know there was a big to do on the Disney network when they pulled down Willow, the show they had made.
Yeah.
Like, you can't see it. It's not on Disney Plus. There are no Blu-rays or DVDs. I know it's on some fucking streaming sites elsewhere. The kind you're not supposed to go to. But otherwise, it's just not there. It's not available to the normal person anymore.
You can buy one off of Amazon.
No, no, not Willow the movie.
Oh. Oh, the new Willow.
Yeah, the show they did. There were 6 episodes. Um, but yeah, you can always get Willow the movie. That came out in the fucking 80s.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. They took it down. They had initially planned to do 3 seasons of the show. They did the first season. It did not do particularly well, and they decided they didn't ever say they canceled it, but they said they were putting it on hiatus. That was the terminology they decided to use,
Oh.
and then they decided to pull it off of Disney Plus. A little surprised you didn't know any of this.
So Disney took it down, according to this article, because they received numerous tax breaks um, to take basically produce content for streaming and then take it down. Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm not even gonna say that's a stupid reason for Disney to do it. That's a stupid
Well,
reason to have for a tax break.
Well, it's probably because they probably took it and then published it out there. Hey, we made this, we published it, and we're taking it down now because it's not generating any income, and then write off the show. Okay?
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
So now that they can't basically put it back up for streaming because then they have to pay all the taxes on that. Same with any kind of physical print of that show would also they'd have to pay back the taxes on that.
Yep.
I mean,
So,
like I think I mentioned this too, like with video games from the 80s and 90s, especially a lot of games on the Super Nintendo and Sega, just have never been ported or re-released in any way. Now, not all of them are great, but there are a couple outstanding gems out there that the studios died and the software for that game is now just floating in the ether. Nobody owns it,
yeah, like the
and you
ones on
can't publish it.
the ones that were on console, they're never going to truly die because the console games exist. But the ones that were out on PC that we've talked about, you even told me about some of them. Or maybe it's my buddy Mike. My buddy Mike was telling me about some of these recently that his dad used to get access to before they had been released. But yeah, these are old PC games, some of which never saw a release, or some like there's PC games you will just never get access to ever.
Yeah.
I have been trying real fucking hard to find a legit copy of Magic the Gathering Chandalar, and maybe I find some, but it's a little sketchy as to whether or not the download will have malware and shit in it. So I haven't messed with it. But yeah, like that's a game that I really, really want to play again. But finding a copy that works with the current version of Windows, because that game came out fucking 20 some odd years ago. But yeah, we have protecting media is very important. You don't want people like George Lucas to fuck up Star Wars. I want the original Star Wars movie. I don't want the one with all the CGI bullshit added into it.
I do. I want to see that fucking dinosaurs butt walk across the screen when everything's going on. That one scene there is the reason I hate the remakes. I can buy everything else they added. I can buy the head nod. I can buy all the extra like banthas in the back or whatever. But taking up 90% of the screen with a dinosaur's ass for no effing reason whatsoever, that's where I draw the line.
That's a good point. That's a good reason or a good place to draw the line at. For me, it was when they decided to change the music.
I mean, that happens.
No, they fucking changed songs from that movie that had been with me and every other Star Wars fan our entire lives.
What did they change?
Well, I know for off the top of my head, I know for sure in the Return of the Jedi they changed the Ewok song.
Oh, well, they changed the whole ending. They took the Ewok song out,
yeah,
and they changed it to the Galaxy. Yeah, they took out Yub Nub and they replaced it with a different song. I mean, that was a whole scene change.
I don't give a fuck.
Listen, I don't like the Ewoks, so.
Oh well, I don't give a shit if you like the Ewoks or not. You don't change the music.
Yep, nub.
Yep.
I still remember it.
Yeah,
I didn't say I didn't like it.
Exactly. You haven't seen or heard that song in over 20 years, and it is still in your fucking brain.
Hey, child, you want some memories? Watch this.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mommy, why is that one teddy bear crying over the other teddy bear that just got shot by the laser? Is this the first time I've seen death in my life? Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh.
For me, it was not. It was not. I had seen many a horror movie before then.
Oh, no. I've seen many a horror film before then. I've seen people die horribly. But that bear going, and then start crying is the first time that as a child...
Tragic, yep.
That tragedy set in and my innocence went bloop for my daughters when I caught her when she was 3 watching The Godfather. So, I mean...
You told me about that. The fucking horse in the bed scene. Oh, Lord.
She's like, this is fine. This is normal. I want to keep watching this. Can you not watch it? No. I'm going to join the mob now, Dad.
Next time you talk to her, she's speaking with an Italian accent.
Hey, Bobby, why'd you put the garlic in my milk? Oh, totally off topic and off podcast topic. You know, ADD.
I mean, we're talking about video games here, so they get what they get.
We went to an Italian restaurant called Gino's or Gennano's or something like that here in Charleston.
Yeah, some very Italian name.
And ever since we moved down here, we're like, oh, we should try that place out. 8 years later, we're like, all right, let's go there.
Yep.
So we go out there and we try it. And oh my God. Like, we were looking at reviews and all the reviews said like, oh, it's slow. The service is slow. It takes a while to get your food. And we're like, whatever. People are impatient.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a standard amount of time to get our food. It wasn't terribly busy. But they make everything from scratch. They made the pasta that we ate in our meal, the gnocchi, from scratch for our meals. Okay. They made the Alfredo sauce that I had on my noodles from scratch right then, which isn't that hard, but still, nothing was pre-made. It was Olive Garden shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was so good. And we were mocking the whole restaurant Italian theme. It was an amazing dinner. That's all.
I'm glad that you found a place like that. Don't shit on the Olive Garden. I mean, I know it's all just
Oh, I can't. I can't go back to Olive Garden now. I found my real Italian restaurant. The dad came by to my thing. He goes, "You all having a good time?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're having a great time." Good, good, good. Try the what do you say? Try the cannolis when you're done. They're amazing.
Yeah, you have to try the fucking cannolis. Like I will join the mob for cannolis. Let's be honest, cannolis are amazing.
Actually, when the waitress came by, she goes, "You guys want to see the dessert menu? Let me guess. You got tiramisu, cannolis." She's like, "Yep, keep going."
That's the only Italian ones I know, but they're on there, I'm sure.
Pumpkin cheesecake and some like lemon meringue cake or something. I don't know. It was delicious.
Yeah. That's fucking great.
So back onto D&D. I looked up the Heroes Feast, Saving the Children menu.
Yeah.
Since I can't access D&D Beyond right now. It is just a single one shot. There's one map with 8 rooms for you to go into. It looks like there's not even an encounter to be had.
That's weird. Okay.
It's one of those like, hey, you can see the encounters coming and talk your way out of them, or you can see the encounters coming and avoid them completely, or you can just attack them. Whatever your party wants.
Okay.
Yeah, not the bad, like there's no encounters. The good, there's no encounters.
Got it. It's encounters that you can handle however you want to handle.
Yeah. And there's a fire giant involved, and
yeah, I figured there was some giant since it's a giant-sized adventure.
Yeah, and it looks like this feels like cut content from Bigby's. Because they reference Bigby's and a lot of the monsters from Bigby's in it.
Could be worse. I mean, it's $5, so that's not a horrible price, at least.
I mean, that's the standard price for a one shot.
Yeah,
and it also gives me a good idea. It's like how much does a professional one shot cost with a simple map and a small encounter? $5.
$5. Yeah. So speaking of one shots, when I wrapped up my Pathfinder game last night, one of the other DMs, Johnny, he told us that he's going to run a Christmas one shot for us here in a few weeks, sometime before Christmas, hopefully, if it all works out schedule wise. But apparently he found a Pathfinder module that is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And you get to play, you start in Whoville, and you all have to play small races. So you are effectively playing the Who's.
All right.
That's all I know about it at this point. I think he said it's probably like a 5th level adventure, and I'm really fucking looking forward to this. I'll have to see if he'll let me play a Kinder.
I stole all the cookies.
Yep. But yeah, there's the fact that you get to play Cindy Lou Who, or I'll have to come up with a good Who name though.
Well,
Tommy Boo Hoo.
No, what you need to do is you need to basically play Cindy Lou who is much more older than 2 now, and play her adult version.
I'm Cindy Lou Who. I'm 42.
I'm Cindy Lou Who. I'm 42, and this is my metal rock band. And then everyone be bards.
Yep. Cindy Lou Who smoking cigarettes.
I mean,
Cindy Lou now talks like this.
No. She does a great job singing. She's a great singer.
Yeah. For a death metal band.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You need to do that. Death metal Who's.
I like this plan.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to the other players and see if they're in.
Hey guys, we're gonna be bards, all of us.
So I wrapped up my Pathfinder campaign last night, and I realized last night, after I finished it completely, that I literally ran a campaign for about 2 to 3 years that was a singular joke. And
like most of our games, yeah.
I don't normally do that with a campaign. This one actually started off of a joke, and it just fucking kept going and snowballed into what it was. This is gonna be it's gonna be a little bit long, a little drawn out. Sorry, but I gotta tell it.
What if guns existed?
No, no. Why bears? Why bears? So I started my original campaign almost 10 years ago when I moved back to Alabama. And
Mhm.
I was in school at the time. I was working full time, didn't have a lot of time. So I created a game where I could just come up with an adventure anytime I decided to run, just run it. Whoever the fuck showed up, that's who was there. And it worked. And, people started playing consistently. They started leveling up and everything. And my buddy Mike decided to join in, and he created a character. And I've talked about him briefly on the pod before, called Noodle. Noodle is a gnome. He's very chaotic. He loves throwing fire magic, and he really liked the spell Mirror Image.
Mhm.
Now, Mirror Image, anytime he would cast Mirror Image, he would also joke and say, "We are many," because it would make multiple copies of him.
Okay.
All right. So then there's the other dungeon master in our group named Johnny. Johnny also decided to start up a campaign 6 months, a year later, or whatever, and Mike joined into that campaign. Mike was also a very busy person, didn't have a lot of time to think about what the fuck he's going to play for D&D, so he's like, I'm just going to play Noodle. So,
Okay.
so he made the same character in another campaign.
All right.
So me and Johnny and everybody else always sort of joked about the fact that, okay, he's playing the same character in two campaigns. His character does the mirror image thing, and every time he does it, he's like, "We are many." Okay, so Noodle is just all throughout the multiverse.
Right.
That's where this fucking began at. The whole thing was throughout the multiverse. So everywhere you go, there's a fucking Noodle there. It doesn't matter what world, there's a Noodle there. So anyway, I run my campaign up to, Johnny's campaign continues on for a long fucking time, and those characters actually reached level 30, became gods in that setting. So just
We
keep
are
that.
gods.
Yes, so keep that in mind. They became divine in Johnny's setting. In my
Okay.
setting, that was never on the table. But I did run my campaign. I finished school and then I had more free time. So I actually turned it into a proper campaign and I ran it all the way up to level 20. And at level 20, I'm like, okay, we're done. This is the end of the campaign. I hope you all enjoyed it. A couple of years go by and I start getting the bug to run those characters again because I really enjoyed that group of characters. And
Mhm.
I was thinking to myself, how do I do this? And I know I've told this story on the pod before for those who listen a long time, but if you haven't, then I'm going to go over it briefly. I decided to throw them 600 years into the future in that setting and had them restart as first level characters, different races and classes, but it was the same characters. So I quantum leaped them essentially. If you're familiar with the TV show, it's this dude who jumps through time and keeps landing in different bodies.
He was a monkey once.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been all sorts of things in that show. So anyway, they go through this campaign and the whole time they are aware that they have to go and they ended up in this situation because of another noodle that had come to their world at the end of the first campaign. He had shown up, told the other noodle that he was from the future and that he just sort of started hanging out. He didn't really do much. He was just sort of there. So anyway, 2 years later, I get the idea to redo these characters. I have that other noodle set them into a trap, kill them to cast a massive spell that creates an area of the world that nobody can get to. So they get reincarnated into these other bodies, and they realize, okay, we have to go kill this fucker. So they spend the next couple of years of me running this game to get them to that point. Oddly enough, I ended my fucking campaign at 12th level, by the way.
Mhm.
Pissed me off when I found out, god damn it, I'm exactly like Watsy. So anyway, they finally reach Noodle, the other version of Noodle that was there, and I ended up basically, I've already sort of spoiled it here, but I dropped the bomb on them that this is the Noodle from Johnny's game. that they had to go. Yeah, this huge fucking spoiler that none of them really saw coming. They had to fight Mike's other PC who had godhood. And needless to say, I pulled the punches a little bit, obviously, but I was, I dropped there was one round where I dropped 2 meteor storms and 2 power word stuns on them, which is just fucking brutal. So anyway,
that noodle was a mirror image all along.
No, he was a real noodle from another world. But anyway, the fight ends. The other NPCs show up. Blah blah blah. So one of the other NPCs, my character from that other world, he also has divinities. Like, okay, yeah, we can fix this. We'll just sort of rewrite time. Just give him a couple of weeks to figure out how it works on their world. Well, they give him a couple of weeks. He puts a simulacrum to work doing the job. He's a busy man. He doesn't have time for this shit.
Right.
Yeah. So naturally, the simulacrum fucks up everything when he casts it. And instead of getting sent back to the past, they end up, they don't know where. They're either several hundred years in the future or they're on another world. No goddamn clue. But I've already set the next time I run this into motion. They're in some sort of a steampunk setting. So I'm literally just quantum leaping them every time at this point.
When Noodle creates a simulacrum,
yeah,
what are the components?
I don't know. Which noodle? Like the
real one.
The real one is not divine. The original one is not divine.
Well, I'm saying, like, normally when you create a simulacrum, one of the components is like a piece of snow or a piece of ice.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He would use whatever the actual components for simulacrum are. I pulled up the spell components: snow or ice in quantity sufficient to make a life-size duplicate, and a powdered ruby worth 1,500 gold. So that's what he would have to use.
Okay.
Like, he doesn't have
Divine Noodle.
Divine Noodle, he kind of, I mean, he's got divinity. He just sort of snaps his fingers and makes shit happen.
I was hoping you'd say a noodle.
A noodle.
I'm still hung up on the Italian restaurant.
Yeah, well, okay, that I should have known not to fucking talk about a noodle while you're talking about Italian restaurants. So
yeah, boppity boopity, boopity boppity.
Yeah, to sort of get around that, the character's actual name is Namfoodle, but they call him Noodle.
Okay.
So now you don't have to think of him as Noodles. But anyway,
what kind of noodle is he?
He's a gnomish noodle, or in the most recent setting, he was a halfling. Apparently, he's just a short race every time. Next one, he's going to be a kinder, I guess.
One time, my wife bought me a box of shells and cheese home. Well, she bought me like a couple boxes.
You ate them all.
I'm going through the boxes of shells and cheese, and I'm making 2 boxes because I'm going to give it to my entire family, and I'm a pig.
Yep.
So, I open one box and I pour it in, and I open a second box and pour that in. And she accidentally bought a box of mini shells. So I had mini shells and the big normal shells. And the thing about noodles is you can't really boil noodles with different sizes at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, one will always overcook.
It'll cook faster than the other because it's smaller. Yep.
Yeah. So I had a slop of shells and cheese. Let me preface that it doesn't really matter how you cook shells and cheese; it's still delicious.
Yeah, it's still going to be shells and cheese. I mean, it's a little.
You can't ruin it.
Yeah, like it might be a little stickier than normal or soggier, but whatever. It's still shells and cheese.
It just scared me, and I was like, "Oh God!" That's all.
Yeah, I know the last few times I've been to Shadowmoor, our LARP, I go to get food in like 10:30 on Friday or right after opening ceremonies, and the only thing they have that I can fucking eat up there is macaroni and cheese in the little bowls, and it's always terrible, and it's still amazing because it's shells and cheese.
My daughter lives off of those.
Yeah, I think most 8-year-olds do. I know I did.
Scadios.
Well, okay.
Well, I'm 43 now. I'm still living off of shells and cheese, so I really can't say much.
Okay, well, that's...
Mommy, when do I grow out of shells and cheese? Well,
never.
When you're dead.
Yep. I admit it, I don't really eat that stuff very often, but when I do, it's
you
amazing.
Have real chickens. You just can go eat a chicken whenever you want.
We don't kill our chickens. We get eggs from those.
You can go kill an egg whenever you want.
I
Still
do.
killing a chicken, you know.
Yep. They haven't been laying eggs though. It's that time of year. I'm having to buy them from the fucking store again.
What do you mean it's that time of year?
Chickens don't lay eggs year round. When it
Why
gets
not?
cold, when it gets cold, they stop laying eggs.
Why?
I don't know. Ask them.
Does that work for all like birds?
I don't know. I would assume.
So in the winter, in the colder months, birds stop laying eggs.
Chickens definitely do. I can't speak for all birds.
So do
Uh,
owlins and Aarakocra stop laying eggs when it gets cold outside?
do they lay eggs?
Yes.
Are we sure?
Yes.
Let's see. Do Aarakocra. Lord, I can't even spell the word. Lay eggs. No, there it is. Okay. Thank you, Google. Upon mating, female Aarakocra lay clutches of between 1 to 3 eggs. So there's your answer to that. I guess, yeah, they probably only, lay, 8 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year, unless they are living in warmer climates.
If I were to eat an Aarakocra egg, would that be a crime against humanity? Let's say I both, in one example, legally bought it from an Aarakocra egg vendor and stole it from an Aarakocra nest.
Now you're really diving into the alignments of the game. Is it evil to eat an Aarakocra egg that you legally purchased? I don't know. That would actually depend on where you're at as far as the law goes. So the lawful side of things, it might or might not be lawful. As for evil, I don't know. Now we get into the debate of which came first, the chicken or the egg, or the Aarakocra or
The
the
egg.
egg. The
The
egg?
egg. Yeah.
Are we sure?
Yeah,
But
100%.
but how did the egg get there if there was no Aarakocra to lay it?
Because there was a species that eventually evolved into the Aarakocra. So
But
when
that
the
species had to exist before it could lay the egg.
no, it
So
had to lay the egg first, and there had to be a genetic change in that egg. Thus, the egg came first.
yeah, but there had to be something to lay
No.
that initial egg.
Yeah, it laid the initial egg, okay?
So that
And
thing, whether it's an
when
Aarakocra
it
or
laid
not,
the egg, okay, that genetic change was new in that egg.
but
And
that
thus, when it grew up, it had an extra finger due to its own mutation. And because it had an extra finger, the females wanted to mate with him more. And they started mating, and now Aarakocras have fingers. That's how it works. So the egg comes first. It's more a question: do you believe in science or religion?
well,
If you believe in religion, the chicken came first because
that's
then
that's
God created the chicken.
that is neither a science or religious question. It's
It
it's an
is.
it's an unanswerable
No,
question.
the answer is the egg.
Yeah, but there's no you have no proof of that.
No, I do, because the genetic mutations are passed down in the line, okay? So if they're positive, they stay, okay? Well, genetic mutation has to happen first. It doesn't happen in the parent, it happens in the child that gets born, or the egg in this case.
Okay, so I think you're still focused too much on the creature. There had to be a creature to lay an egg, whether it's an Aarakocra, whether it's a lizard, it doesn't matter.
Let's say it's a
Something,
lizard. And the lizard is a green lizard with 3 fingers.
right?
Okay?
So which came first, the
It it
lizard or the egg?
it lays an egg. Okay? Now the lizard that gets hatched from that egg is still a green lizard, but it has 4 fingers.
But okay, so that
Creating a
first
new species of
the
lizard.
the first
The
lizard
4-fingered lizard.
the first lizard that laid an egg. By the way, I'm sure everybody's quit listening at this point.
No, because the creature that laid the egg was a 3-fingered lizard. The one that hatched was a 4-fingered lizard.
Yeah, but you're breaking down. You're breaking the very beginning. At the very beginning of all creatures that existed, something either had to come from an egg or something had to not come from an egg, and there's no way to know what that first one was. That's why the chicken coming from the which came first, chicken or egg argument. There is no definitive proof either way.
If it's science, it's the egg, because the egg carries a new mutation. Okay. And if it's religion,
you can't. You will not actually succeed in this argument.
I've already won.
You
Also,
okay? Yeah.
speaking
All
of
right.
eggs, I posted a comment in a comic in the podcast chat, which is quite hilarious. Okay. And so I'm going to kind of read it frame by frame. And if you're listening on our podcast, please go to our Discord and actually take a look at the comic. And it starts off with an adventurer coming back into a cave, and he's holding a worm egg, and he says, "One worm egg." And this weird demonic warlock patron thing turns around and goes, "Ooh, goody! Took a while." And the messenger goes, "A while? You asked for a worm. Do you have any idea?" And then the demon interrupts, goes, "Yes, yes, yes. Your purse will be plenty heavy, finder." He takes the egg, he goes, "For your troubles," and gives the adventurer a big bag of gold. And the adventurer looks at the warlock demon and goes, "You're not the first cocksure warlock to try this, you know." And the warlock turns around and goes, "Cocksure?" The adventurer responds back because worms aren't like normal beasts. Doesn't matter if you hatch that thing yourself, raise it from birth. Creatures like that don't obey mortals. Plenty of your kind have gotten themselves devoured for this kind of hubris. And all the while, this warlock demon thing is like grabbing things and books and just giant things off this like huge laboratory thing that he has. And one of it's a giant like goblet. And he puts the goblet down. And so then the warlock in the last two panels turns to the adventurer and goes, "Listen, man." And he cracks open the egg and says, "I just wanted a really big omelet. So now I pose to you before we leave. How big is an Aarakocra omelet?"
Aarakocras are about 6 feet tall, give or take. So an Aarakocra egg, I would assume, is reasonably sized. Probably, I don't know, grapefruit size, maybe a little larger. Now, generally with an omelet, you're going to eat at least 2 to 3 eggs. So there you go. That would make it roughly 3 grapefruits in size worth of egg. That's mind you, for a normal human, that's still a hell of a lot. But the assumption is you just always eat 2 to 3 eggs for an omelet. So doesn't matter how big the egg is.
If a worm egg has to be bigger than an ostrich egg, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So an ostrich egg is 24 chicken eggs. So if it's double the size of an ostrich egg, which it kind of looks like it is in the comic, that's a 48 egg omelet.
Somebody gonna be full.
I could eat that.
Oh, I don't doubt it. That's one of those challenge. The you win a T-shirt if you successfully eat this, and you get the meal for free.
That's a guy called Beard Meets Food on YouTube.
Yeah, I know him. I've seen him.
You can't win the pancake challenges because buttermilk expands in your stomach.
Yep. Don't ever try that one.
No, you'll die.
All right, that's it. We're out of here. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye, Cr'aig. Aarakocra eggs.